Hello, my name is Daniel Bridge. I'm the armchair model railroader. And on this video, I just want to talk a little bit about Ivy City Yard one more time, as it was in 1951. On the previous video, I talked a little bit about this space between the track work between the coal tower and the two turntables. And I just want to show you the drawing that I made today of that space. Originally there were two tracks that could go to either turntable from the coal tower, and I modified it so that all tracks go from the coal tower to the turntables, both turntables. So here is a close-up view of the space between the coal tower, which is here on this drawing. This is the part of the coal tower where coal is loaded into the tower, is dropped down through the bottom, and then goes up an elevator to the top and across to the bins. This track goes underneath of the coal tower, underneath of the span that goes from here to here, and that's for loading coal, and along with these four other tracks. And then this switch did exist here, and that allowed locomotives to go from here to both of the turntables. And this track here also went to both coal towers. There was a switch here that allowed locomotives to go down this track into this turntable. And then, of course, if they kind of came up here, they could do the same thing, or they could go to this turntable here. The other switch that existed here was this one right here. It allowed locomotives to exit out of either one of the turntables down into the yard where locomotives sat after they were done being serviced. I also, in this drawing, I added a double slip switch here and here so that sand cars could be set out on the sand track that was behind this administrative building. This hatched line right here represents where there was a walking path that connected the two roundhouses rather together. Personnel could walk through there. There was several buildings behind the roundhouse, here, and here, that led to a little lot over here where they stored stuff. So in this drawing, anywhere where there is a circle, that's where I added a turnout or points where they weren't previously there. And this allows locomotives to go from this track up through here, through some new crossovers, into this turntable here, through a new switch I added here. And that was the same thing for this track, never went to the other turntable over here. So I added a new switch, some crossovers, and a new switch there. New switch here to allow this track never went to the other turntable. It just went straight down this line to here. So I added a new switch so it could come to a new landing on the turntable that wasn't there. This fourth landing on this side did not exist. And I always depict the yard as it was in 1951. The place where I saw this for the first time was on historicaerials.com. You can put a search into the search bar on the website for Washington, D.C. And then if you find the U.S. Capitol building and just go a little bit to the north and east of the Capitol, maybe a couple blocks over, you'll find Washington, D.C. Union Station. And then you follow the tracks out of there to the north and east, and you'll find Amtrak Ivy City Maintenance Yard. And then you go into the aerials list and you choose 1951, and it'll show you what the yard looked like in 1951, which was very similar to this. Over the years, they did demolish this building and a portion of this roundhouse here. It existed up to about that angle right there, off the drawing. The rest of it was all torn down and the pits were filled in, and this track work through here was changed to a switch rather than a turntable. The turntable was gone. It was all filled in. All the inspection pits were filled in. After 1953, which is when steam operations stopped in Washington, D.C., they didn't need all this. They tore down the coal tower. The sand track remained because the sand from here was dried and heated and sent to the GG1 service platforms here and here. And on the other side of where the coal tower used to stand, there was a whole bunch of standing platforms and water and all kinds of fuel oil in it for the steam generators on diesels. And it was the same thing over here on the GG1 tracks. They had sand and water and fuel oil for the boilers inside the GG1s. In the previous video, I said that there was too much electrified track, and I think I was actually wrong about that. This track was electrified. This one, this track here, and this track was electrified. So it was probably there was one track that fed into these two tracks. So these two were electrified for a short portion, but mainly this track was electrified, and these two tracks were electrified. So there was three, but there was a little bit of separation between them. And this track continued down unelectrified to the edge of the yard. You saw freight cars in the drawing previously. So anyway, I've made it much more complicated. And I really like Ivy City Yard. Like I said before, I kind of messed around with catenary positions of wires and standoff wires. So, if there was a wire going from the AC stop, which was probably right about in here, there'd have to be a wire going across here that would run down to here, and it had to probably be stood off somewhere down here. I imagine that there was a wire gantry somewhere around in here, because this double slip switch would be complicated. I'm not sure if it was a double slip or not, but I made it one. And Ivy City Yard, Washington, D.C. in 1951, with way more complicated track work than what was actually there. And thanks for watching my video. Y'all have a good day.